last hour we have before we go to dinner, so I hope you're ready. Yeah, you're probably hungry, but it's okay. It's a really good session, hopefully, because we're going to talk about why we actually do GIP and GCDP, which is of course a very interesting question, and it's actually trying to understand how in our programs we're delivering leadership in these experiences, right? So just to recap, like what Rolf has been talking to you guys about this afternoon, is that actually we're assessing like what is the types of challenges you're facing in your country specifically, and then we saw the relationship with ISEC, right? So we understood that like because we develop leadership in ISEC, this is actually a way for us to solve these challenges in society and to bring this positive impact. And like also we understood these two elements, that we want to provide this leadership in every experience and at the same time grow like never before in order for us to be able to move towards ISEC 2015, right? So this is like very simple concepts which we're trying to move towards, and that's all because in the end of the day we want to see this impact on the world. But when we talk about these things, like we're talking on an organizational level, right? We're talking about ISEC trying to develop leadership, but we have of course our program which are doing that for us. And in this session specifically, we want to go more into detail around how GIP and GCDP are actually developing leadership. Yeah? So yeah, that's a question which we're going to ask ourselves, is how do we develop leadership specifically on our exchange programs right now? How does this look like, and what do we need to do in order for us to make that better? Because in the end of the day, the clarity to why of our program, so why we are running GIP or why we are running GCDP, is kind of the clarity of the how of our organization, right? Because through these programs, it's actually that we develop that leadership which we want to do. And we do that through this inner and outer journey, which you know already, and Rolf was telling already about the elements that we are trying to better understand how this inner and outer journeys look like. And also in a strategic meeting in Poland, and we'll get back to that, we've been doing research, and Asha was there, on actually trying to understand, like, from experiences which we currently have been providing, how does these inner and outer journey elements actually reflect in these kind of experiences. But the question, of course, is like, if you look at this nice outer journey and you look at this inner journey, we need to question, like, is this actually happening? Are we providing like the right outer journey to every exchange participant we have right now in ISEC, or we have had? And also, are we ensuring that there is this inner journey element which we have in our experience? Because it's not just an exchange experience, it's this leadership development experience, which has to contain two elements to be actually the product which we offer to our customer, right? And I think, so we asked these people, like, how did they experience our programs? And then we got a lot of data, and we got like these surveys which you might also receive in your inbox, where you actually answer questions around like, what did you develop and what did you learn out of these experiences, right? So we had over 600 responses in the latest survey around the leadership developed in ISEC programs. And also they've done like interviews with ELD participants to get more in-depth knowledge on how they have perceived their experiences and how they understand like different elements in the inner and outer journey to be present in their experiences specifically. And so by doing this and by doing this research, and I really encourage you to talk to Aisha more about it, is we try to actually connect the why of our organization and, let's say, the ideal state from which we are thinking and we're trying to operate towards what is actually happening, to understand the gaps towards what leadership we're actually developing, and for us to identify actions to move forward with that. So with understanding like the new insights we got from there, I would like to give the word also to Cole already, for you to go more into detail into the GIP program, to understand exactly what leadership we're developing there and through which elements. Yeah?
Thank you. So as Charlotte said, there was a meeting where they looked at data, surveys, as well as they interviewed customers from the GIP program, that is students who went through the GIP program, and tried to assess what's the leadership that they actually developed. And the results of that was this. The leadership we develop in GIP, that our EPs believe in themselves, that they have proactive learning, they become independent and results driven, they're able to work in a multicultural environment, they're open-minded, fast adapting, and they gain professional expertise. So those are very good things to have. It's like very good that ISEC is able to provide youth with these kind of skills and leadership traits, let's say. Of course, there's a question of how often do we develop these in each of the EPs, like at what rate, and what's maybe missing from this list, if anything. And I just want to see, can anyone tell me what the purpose of the GIP program is? Like why we run the GIP program? Yeah, Ivan?
To get the practical working experience in the multicultural environment.
So that's pretty close to the formal value proposition of GIP. Professional experience in a cross-cultural environment. And all of that is so that we can create leaders who have a positive impact on society, right? And for people to have a positive impact on society, they need skills like this, as well as a purpose and an intention to have a positive impact on society. So we asked, this is the question we asked to the EPs, what leadership did they develop? We also asked in the SOGA survey, you guys will remember, we asked how does IGIP develop leadership in your country, right? And what we have is some of the responses that people have. So this is about an average sampling of what MCP stated in the survey. So you might even see your own comments here. Providing organizations with fresh and unique talent, therefore driving the economy of the country. IGIP means youth interacting with business and learning. EPs help our TN taker to improve their result and be more competitive. Provides the members the experience to get in touch with big companies. I honestly don't know how to answer this question. It offers a cross-cultural experience with the support that XPP requires, but I don't know if this is developing leadership or not. Training our members to be great sellers, packaging products. We partner with young companies that need skilled HR. So if you were to summarize how does IGIP develop leadership from these things, might be quite challenging to summarize, right? Because you see many, many different kinds of sentences of how we develop leadership through IGIP. And if you were to grab anything out of it, you might grab some sort of talent gap. That companies need talent and ISEC helps them find talent. And that's why we develop leadership in IGIP.
When you're asking that question, are you referring to the EPs that are going on exchange or the things that members have to do in order to provide like TNs? Because if you look at some of the answers, they're more based on like the members and not the EPs.
It can be either. The IGIP program has an impact on the EP living the inner and outer journey, as well as the inner and outer journey of the member facilitating the experience, right? So I want you to imagine a hypothetical conversation, okay? In the steering team, what I said is imagine an alien were to visit Earth. So I like thinking about these things. An alien visits Earth, and you're trying to give them an explanation of ISEC and why ISEC is such a great organization, right? And you tell this person, or alien, we are the youth leadership provider of the world. That's what ISEC does. Really? Yes! Through us, young people can learn how to lead by living international internships that prepare them to solve the greatest needs and issues facing society. That's what we say, right? Or that's what we believe, right? That people can do these internships and that's going to prepare them to solve issues after they leave ISEC so that we can be the youth leadership provider of the world. Alien is super impressed. Sounds amazing. What do these internships look like if they do this? Let's look. HR department technical support. Customer care, technical support services, and sales via inbound and outbound calls, email, or chatting. Ensuring client complaints are dealt with and logged in with the company's complaints escalation policy. Okay? Let's go for another one. Digital media development. As a member of a Scrum team, you will be working on a small and large projects, developing a new website for our customers. This includes both front-end and back-end work. Maintenance of our own or customers' websites, developing new functionality or changing the layout. Let's go for another one. Market research, preparation of presentations, preparation of visits, preparation of price lists. Let's go for a final one here. Sales via the phone and internet, raising partnerships via the phone and internet. Constant search of possible suppliers and clients via the internet of your country's market. And if you look at right here, present yourself and your country in local committee meetings, attend local committee meetings after parties. Youth leadership provider of the world, right? That's how we do it. So, just so you guys know, I'm being honest, I did not purposely look for TNs that were, say, underwhelming, right? And I also don't think these TNs represent, like, the worst TNs in the network or something. I think these are quite average, like what you would expect if you were just going through mysec.net and clicking on TN forms. But it's not clear that these are meaningful internships that develop leadership in anyone. So, let's draw some conclusions from this. one, leadership development is not a natural byproduct of an internship, right? I mean, people are doing millions of internships all around the world, but they're not solving all the problems in society somehow. So we can't just assume that by providing any internship, leadership that's going to impact society is developed, right? And bridging the talent. Yeah.
Could you repeat? I don't understand by natural. Could you repeat again?
Yeah. So sorry. What I mean by that is that just because someone has an internship doesn't mean they develop leadership. So that's within ISEC or outside of ISEC, right? I mean, doing an internship doesn't make you a leader. It's just a sort of like a job. And bridging the talent gap is not the purpose of the GIP program. So that's what we say we're trying to do, and that's often, I think, why we say it's important. Like, this industry needs this talent, and we have to provide that, and that's what I said when I was MCP, so don't worry, I was there with you. But I mean, if you think back to like 1948, and a bunch of Europeans starting a youth organization, I don't think they were really talking much about the talent gap in the industries around them and how they needed to solve that problem, right? So, the ideal TN should have a purpose in society, creating better members, better leaders, better experiences, and better partners. Because an EP going through an internship that has meaning for the society, or delivers some purpose to the society, is more logically developing skills and seeing what it's going to take for them to impact society, right? And this isn't anything that's new. You might remember these three circles, right? And what these three circles mean. That our internships have a value to the market, which is a talent solution, right? In the end, what we're providing companies is a talent solution. But also a value to our organization, which is that they can develop leadership. That the person living that experience is someone capable of solving problems in society after they leave ISEC. And an individual value to the members who are facilitating the experience. That they've seen what it takes to solve that issue in society, or improve that aspect of a company that's fighting for something that matters. And when we have a product in the center of these three circles, then we're developing leadership in a way that's relevant for the market and valuable for our members. So this isn't just like a hypothetical, like what if ISEC could do this, right? There's examples, I think, around the network of very, very good internships and TNs that clearly develop leadership and have a purpose in society. So I want to take you through some of those. So this is the story of ISEC in Spain. Eloy? So I'll do my best to tell a story about ISEC in Spain, and Eloy can correct me if he thinks I have anything wrong. So, I mean, as you guys know, Spain in the last 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, has been in deep economic recession, right? Huge unemployment. What, 40%? Somewhere around there?
Yeah. Like
Yeah?
Right now it's 53.
Right, 53%. And that includes a lot of youth unemployment, right? And I think basically they had an environment that couldn't be ignored, right? In this kind of environment, you have no choice but to provide something that's relevant to the market and something that is meaningful for your members, because otherwise they're going to go somewhere else because there's so much need and it's so clearly in front of everyone in the society, right? So ISEC in Spain asked themselves, how can we be a part of the solution? How did we get here as a society, and how can ISEC be a part of the solution? And how they got there is an economy that's too dependent on other countries and people that were too dependent on their government or on other governments and not fighting for something on their own and making their society what it could be. And they asked themselves, who can fix that? Or who in our society is fixing that problem? And they focused on entrepreneurs. They said entrepreneurs represent the solution to the problem we have in our society. Because entrepreneurs are fighting for something, they're independent, they're able, if our society could be more entrepreneurial, we would fix these problems on our own. And that's what we need to do. So then, well, how can ISEC help entrepreneurs? That's the group that we should be able to help. That's the group relevant for our society, but how can ISEC help them, right? So what did entrepreneurs need from a talent perspective? Well, it makes a lot of sense what they needed. When you have an economy that's crashing, it's hard to start a new company. It's hard to sell your product or to market your product, because who's going to buy it? Because half of the people don't have a job. So are they really going to buy your product? They don't have the money, right? But when they do, 5 years from now, your company's going to be super relevant in that market. So there has to be some way for you to survive. Because if you can, when Spain comes back, you're going to be a part of that solution. So how can you survive until then? Well, ISEC has a solution for that, which is we can bring marketing people from other countries to Spain to help entrepreneurs sell their product or market their product in their home countries, in the EP's home countries, right? And in that way, we don't just have an internship it's not just a marketing internship. It's a marketing internship in a company that matters, right? It's a marketing internship that's something worth fighting for, because that's a company that's an entrepreneur or a company who represents the solution to what's going to happen in Spain. And imagine the experience an EP has with that marketing internship. Imagine the average marketing internship you might imagine like in your mind, and now imagine going to a country in the middle of a deep economic recession and trying to help an entrepreneur save their company by selling their product or marketing their product in your country. And the amount of responsibility that has. The weight of that responsibility and the seriousness of the job you're doing. Now your internship matters, right? Because it's not just about marketing, it's about something important for society and for the world. And something greater than yourself. And imagine the experience of the member selling and delivering that product. When that EP is a solution to the biggest problem in your society, that EP's experience matters a lot, right? That's the right person that you're matching with, that they're received well, that they're taken care of when they're there becomes very important. And the member doesn't just learn how to sell and deliver a product, right? They see what is it like to be an entrepreneur, and what solutions do you need? And how can I be a part of that solution now, so that once I leave ISEC, I can continue being a part of that solution? So if we go to the three circles, we can see the market value. Entrepreneurs can sell their products in international markets, survive and support Spain's economy. We can also see an organizational value. A young person, the EP, witnesses and contributes to responsible and entrepreneurial leadership, overcoming a harsh environment. And for the member, a member learns sales and delivery and learns how to contribute to society through market solutions, something that's going to take them much further in life and mean that they make them a leader capable of impacting society, not just selling and delivering products after they leave ISEC. So that's one example, ISEC in Spain. This is a story of ISEC in Russia. And when Cassie originally made this slide, she didn't put Russia in there. I don't know what country that is. I think it's Czech Republic or something. I'm not sure. But this is a story of ISEC in Russia. So Russia. By the way, maybe I didn't mention Spain's actually grown a lot because of this. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but many countries in IGP are struggling to grow, and Spain has grown a lot in the last year. What, 50%?
Like right now in these 4 months, we are like only seven goals to achieve 12, 13 goals. So we are gonna, the prediction is that we're gonna grow more than 100% in the 1 year in IGP based on this reality.
Yeah, right. So Russia has about equivalent level of growth. They've grown about 100%, especially in the teaching subproduct, right? So there's a lot of teaching internships in the world. I mean, it's a huge subproduct. In Russia, it's not just a teaching internship. By the way, I did a teaching internship. That's the GIP that I did. I did a teaching internship in China. It was a fantastic experience. The teaching internships in Russia aren't just teaching, meaning they don't just teach the students. Because the reason that Russia's choosing to do the teaching subproduct isn't we can bring teachers here and that's like we can realize more traineeships like that. It's because the young people in Russia, especially the members of ISEC in Russia, truly feel let down by the education system that they've been a part of. Right? And it's one of the reasons ISEC is so relevant for them, because they have a modernizing economy, a globalizing economy that's playing a large role in the world, but the education system for the youth there is very old. And they use old teaching methods, old information, and it's just not what the youth need for that country to go as far as it can. Right? So for members in ISEC in Russia, this is again an issue that's clear for them. We can be a part of the solution to a better education system in Russia. And that means not just teaching students in a better way than they're usually taught, but also teaching teachers how to teach differently. New methods of teaching, or just different methods of teaching, right? When a teaching EP goes to Russia, they don't just teach the students, they also teach the teachers. Now, and ISEC in Russia's belief, so ambitious, their belief, is that if they can continually show that students are learning more and learning better because of new methods, that if they can do it on a larger and larger scale year after year, eventually is going to lead to people changing the education system completely, as well as if they can change the way the teachers teach, right? Their belief is that if they can run this on a large enough scale, literally public schools and government will be pressured to change the way that they teach and the way that they train teachers to teach, so that the whole education system is better. So looking at the three circles again, yeah. Sorry, that's the wrong slide, but I can say them anyway. The market value, okay, obviously, a teaching EP can provide better teaching to the students and fill a role in the school, right? But the organizational value, meaning what leadership is that person gaining? They're not just learning how to teach, they're learning how to influence a whole organization, meaning the school, in a way that matters for what's relevant in the society. And imagine being a member in ISEC in Russia, the leadership development you're getting, it's not just how to sell and deliver a teaching traineeship, it's what can you do to change your society. And how can you structure an internship, what can you add to the JD of an internship to make sure it develops leadership in that person. And when I imagine my teaching internship, which as I said was fantastic, versus this teaching internship and how much more of a challenge it would have been and how much more of an impact I could have had if the school that I was teaching at in China had wanted me to do this as well, I think that would have been a much better experience for me, prepared me much more. It would have been a more purposeful experience. So this, making a GIP program that fits in these 3 circles and actually develops leadership is what Big ISEC calls on us to do. Leadership in every experience on a scale like never before. And we're going to talk a little bit later this evening about how we can replicate these cases, how your entity can have purpose-driven market segmentation and purposeful GIP program. And that's how GIP develops leadership, or how it could be developing leadership. And now I'll give it to Essa to talk about leadership in GCDP.
Yeah, thank you. Cool. Cool. So that was about GIP, and in a similar format or a similar way, if we look at it currently how we're doing GCDP, and one thing is that an insightful last week we had where Olga was able to present to us how we understand GCDP and how we see GCDP currently. Is probably the way we run it or the way we showcase it or the way we plan it out might not be the exact intention that we want to bring behind the GCDP program, and it's fairly seen as like the one of the things that we see constantly are members or entities saying, yeah, GCDP is easy to do. While if you think about it, GCDP is not only about raising a TN, matching, and bring someone to just like see the culture and see the country. It's bigger than that. It's literally a program that is intended to be there to help the society, to activate the society, to overcome its major issues or its certain issues that we are trying to get people within the society to tackle itself. Yeah. So there is an example that I'd like to give, but before that is that this is what we believe also based on the input from the customers that we got. Is that this is what the GCDP program also provides, or that's the type of leadership, which is like EPs would believe in themselves, would be able to become proactive learners and to fastly adapt, and they would be aware of what the world issues and willingness to constantly contribute to the society and the world, and that this program provides the ownership for the world and the ownership of every corner, every issue that it has. And it gives you the ability to work in a multicultural environment, to become open-minded and to become also risk-taking. Yeah? And when we talk about leadership in every GCDP, the thing is that we also believe, and when it comes to the inner and outer journey, there are simple, tiny little things that actually kind of threaten this program in delivering its purpose. For example, a challenging environment is not necessarily let's bring the APs and put them in the crappiest accommodation and get them to sleep with 20 people in the same room. That's the challenging environment that we can provide. That's the outer journey. It is not necessarily it is not necessary. It's not this way. Yeah. So that is definitely not the challenging environment that we are trying to provide. Or for example, when it comes to the inner journey part of it, that we are not clear or not even providing that, okay, so when an EP goes on an internship abroad on GCDP, what are the most important things that we need to make sure that this person, since it's an experience that exposes you to a certain issue out there or to a certain society and it would shock you, and what are we doing to have this person to reflect on this journey and to see what is exactly they are going through, what learnings they are getting, and that is the thing that is missing. And so I have 2 examples. One of them is actually that I thought that I really wanted to share because I remember Sophia shared that. Is it about the story about the one of the regions and specifically one of the cities in China who was like majorly hit by an earthquake, and how bringing in a GCDP, doing a GCDP in that society, in that city specifically, that has been hit by earthquakes like in 2006 if I'm not mistaken, and again in 2011, where the project was truly built to make sure that the interns that we are bringing in, and to make them to support the society, to activate them back again, to run life in the way that it should be, and not to be like, you know, majorly hit, and to also help in rebuilding certain areas within the city and within the society. And that is how they did that project. And then the other example is that what currently we are trying to push, and that is why we are constantly like, yeah, this year, and unfortunately we don't have much examples on the change, which is the business model, the GCDP business model that we're trying to put in. And that basically gives us, as an organization, enables us to understand exactly why are we running this project. Is it because Isaac in Poland did this, it was successful, so now I'm Isaac in, I don't know, Indonesia, and I'm just going to do the project because it worked for them? Yeah? Or is it because what my society needs right now, that I need to define that clear problem that we're facing, and that's how building a project with through the business model will enable us to tackle that. And that's where I also, like, I understand, like, the other thing is that a lot of WENA countries don't really do GCDP incoming, which is fine, but no, actually, okay, whatever. Yeah, so but running GCDP is definitely, in my opinion, if the society, and I did this exercise with a couple of countries, for example, with the Netherlands, where Niels was sitting with me once, I was like, yeah, that's why we don't do GCDP. It's like, you know, we don't find the relevance. While if you just actually Google what are the top issues within a certain society, and then you'll see, and I saw one of the things, bad integration of foreigners within the, not foreigners, the immigrants.
Like you, Essa?
Like me, yeah. No, actually I'm being integrated very well. Okay, cool. So,
whoa.
not you. Yeah, you're American. Cool. So the integrate. Sorry, no offense to you, but to him. Only to him, not to you. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Yeah. So that was one issue that was there. The other issue was that I saw within Canada, and that's when I was talking to Derek. The number one top issue that they have is alcohol and drug abuse. Yeah. So when we do GCDP, it's not necessarily bring kids, put them in a room, run a leadership session. That is not GCDP. Yeah, and because at the end, what we are trying to figure out is that there are societal problems, whether it's in a developing or non-developing country or developed country, and for example, alcohol and drug abuse. Yeah, this is a lot of young people die because of alcohol and drug abuse. So what can we do as an organization to make sure that that society activates itself towards, you know, tackling this issue and reducing the results? And how on long-term wise, so in 20 years, how are we going to be able to lower this percentage? Or 50 years, what is going to happen with these people that are go to rehab and come back and, like, you know, be, you know, stopping not to be, okay, cool. So like, back to this, yeah. So and that is why we want to run GCDP. So the other example that I had, and we kind of used this concept and this business model. So I was also in within entities, one of these entities in the network that's like, it is not sustainable to do GCDP. It is not really something we want to go for, and at the same time, we don't see the relevant impact that could bring to the society. So the simple thing is that what we did is that, so we went to understand what exactly is our country trying to work on, what exactly the thing that we are trying to overcome as a society. And there was one simple, let's say, issue or lack that the society had, which is we lack entrepreneurs. So by 2030, the country had its vision to have more entrepreneurs, or else we will struggle with creating more opportunities. And the government and the companies currently, the way they are not going to be able to generate more and more experiences. Yeah, more non-experiences, job opportunities. Yeah, to live and to survive. Yeah, so that's why what currently the government and the society and the companies trying to drive towards creating more entrepreneurs, so we can fill that gap. But then when we studied exactly what exactly is happening towards that, we understood that there's not so much of, other than having funds there that for people to come and like start their own businesses. But then there was not so much drive within the society, because what we understood is that based on analysis also, see, GCDP is not that you just like create a form, there's analysis, yeah? Cool. So based on analysis is that actually people, and research we did, people in the country or the society don't ever dream of becoming entrepreneurs, or don't ever dream of creating something of their own or creating something towards the society. Because while growing up, you just want to be a lawyer or a doctor, an engineer or a teacher. You just want to be something, but you don't want to be an entrepreneur. Yeah? And that is why we believe that it's difficult to transit this mindset, while if you don't grow up with, you know what, someday I'm going to go there and do something within society and create more opportunities. So therefore, this project was aimed on making sure that that mindset change and shift happens to younger people. And that is why through that vision and through that understanding and analysis of the society and what it needs, the project itself was able to generate 100,000 euros easily, because the society saw the relevance. So if you look at it, the market saw the huge relevance within it, because what we were explaining is that if we don't do this now, if we don't build, try to build more entrepreneurs for the future, then in 20 years, 30 years, we're going to be probably maybe the same situation other countries in the world are right now, with major unemployment. Yeah, so that is why this project was there. And then the project was created slowly, and you'll see guys tomorrow about also, I'm sure you saw the social impact model, but what exactly you could do through that model could really explain exactly this is what the GCDP that we want to try to do this year. So what it brought is it's brought great value at the same time. So, okay, sorry. Yeah. I hate your slides. Anyways, cool. But I love you. So this is what it brought to the society itself, is that we got more interest and more questions from people and students going like, you know what does it take to become an entrepreneur? And then based on surveys and evaluations that they're still conducting, and that is the thing that, you just don't do the project, okay, bye-bye. The point is that this entrepreneurship crisis is not going to be solved in one day. It probably would need 10 years, 5 years, 6, whatever it is, to overcome that problem. So constant evaluation is happening to ensure that, okay, are these students understanding what exactly does it mean to become an entrepreneur? Did it change? What are their fears? What are the things that we can input in the project that we can make sure that, okay, we're driving them still towards the direction we want to take? And it did have a huge impact on students and young people. And it did generate more interest, and more companies were like, you know what, this has been working. Yeah? And that is why we say when you follow the social impact model, and when you try to understand what exactly the market would want to see and what society needs, and you're able to show them long-term wise, in 20 years, this is what we're constantly doing. Every year, we're going to deliver more and more and more and building up our projects to tackle that issue. That is how we should proceed, and that is what we believe in that. Because the impact that I saw on the students, on the membership that are creating these experiences, at the same time, the fact that these people, individuals, the members, were day by day working towards solving a long-term crisis or a long-term thing that would happen in the future, gives you more sense of responsibility, that what you're doing today is matching a form and getting an intern is not just matching a form, getting an intern to get higher results than the other SC in the country or the other SC in the network, whatever it is. It's not only a numbers game, but it's actually a game, or not a game, but towards the bigger cause, which is what you were trying to tackle at the end. Yeah, I don't know what that word is. You can tell me later on for future presentations. Cool. As for the international interns, at the same time, a lot of them felt like, yeah, that this is my contribution. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm brought for, and I feel that, like, yeah, that because it's a project that was really important for the members, really important for everyone around me, that is why I'm learning and I'm contributing. That is why I'm also feeling that this is not going, like, it's not just a workshop to tell people how to do this or how to do that, but it was a bigger thing. It has a bigger purpose, and we made sure every intern at least most of them, that got the idea of why this project was being run. And that is what we need to do for GCDP also. So, and the question is that, before Charlotte could answer, is that I still have this, the question or the feeling is that, are we doing GCDP in the best way possible right now, and what are the challenges that we're facing, because we really need to fix them now. Because at the end of the day, going on that growth, and I joke around with Cole a lot, I was like, yeah, there's nothing to worry, I can sit at home and do nothing, GCDP will still grow. Yeah, but it's not only about that, but it's about what type of experiences, what type of GCDP we're doing. Because at the end of the day, even if we do 1 million, the way we're doing right now, we are not tackling anything. And that with or without the GCDP program, it's not going to be as impactful for the future later on. Yes, people will be impacted. Yes, people will live different experiences and get to know more people and go through challenging environments. Not a competition, but like other challenging environments. But at the end of the day, if we don't make our projects and our GCDP the way it should be, then the 30 years later, 40 years later, we won't see tangible effect in the society and the world out there that we'll go like, yeah, this entrepreneurship center was built because of Isaac and because of how we evolved our project to become even an NGO or to become a center in the future. Yeah? And that is what we need to do for GCDP, so good luck! Okay.
Yeah, so just to recap, I think it's really great stories, and like we see we want to develop leadership in every experience, and we see this inner and outer journey, right? And then what we also see, okay, there are experiences, and from these things, we develop certain like competencies and skills and different elements. But from there also we see the gaps, right? And what we need to do is create more experience in both GIP and GCDP, which are inside 3 of these circles. Which mean that the TNs need to have a greater purpose than only, for example, solving a talent gap. Or that there actually is a purpose for the society, for example, which is creating more entrepreneurs. Because actually that the TNs are structured like this will ensure that the EP has actually a greater leadership experience, which also will develop elements like purpose and the right values, which are key elements which we want to develop in ISEC, right? So by understanding how we can structure our outer journeys differently, kind of, we understand that the impact they make on the intern will increase, right? And so the question pops up, how can we make our experiences better? By making them more relevant to the market and having that greater purpose, but also by providing more inner journey elements, right? Because in the end of the day, there are several elements which are actually currently missing in the experiences which we deliver. Because imagine, once more, like, if we provide these full inner and outer journeys for every participant, what kind of leaders we would create? So it's relevant for the society, and then the EP is going to be impacted by that. The member is going to be impacted by that, right? And what kind of leaders can we create if we have these experiences? And that's what I think is very powerful with what Essa is saying. We can grow massively, right? But if we don't restructure the way we are delivering these experiences, it doesn't really matter anyway, right? And that's why we see that there are some impactful experiences already happening in the network, and we need to consider, and you guys need to consider, what elements can we start working on right now for us to increase the amount of experiences massively, which actually have the right leadership development in them. And yeah, the solution is very simple. We can start already working on many very concrete things. And now you actually see that we're starting to move on from the why we are there as an organization, which is the leadership development, to the how, right? So what things can we do to ensure that this is actually happening? And then it becomes really alive. And I want to share with you, it's like a thing which Florin told us at some point last year, which is we need to provide our interns not only with the content, but also with the container around it. So I don't know who of you have heard about this concept already before, but it's essentially that ISEC as an organization should be the container, which is delivering this experience together with the TN taker. Yeah? So it's not only about placing, for example, in GIP an intern in a company and good luck, because the company is not going to be able to ensure that there's this leadership development experience, right? ISEC needs to be there as this value-driven organization, which needs to actually finish this leadership development experience. For example, by assisting providing the inner journey, but also ensuring that the TNs which are there are actually providing the outer journey which we need to have. So how can we, and I think you can relate very well, right? Because you are all part of ISEC, and you have the right conversations about leadership and the right values and the responsibility we have to do good things which will make the world better. And that's the container we're talking about. So how can we ensure that not only our members get that container, but also the EPs who we have in our projects, in our TNs, are actually getting this experience, which is an ISEC experience, not just any internship experience. And so based also on the research and the summit which was there in Poland, they came up already with new ideas. And we, as an AI team, we are trying to figure out like what are concrete activities which we can do right now. And we can start developing strategies around these things. So these are just some of the ideas which we can start working on right now to improve our inner and outer journeys which we're providing. And these are actually elements, when we go back to replanning, you can actually start planning. For example, we ensure that there are challenging JDs with clear individual responsibilities. Yeah? So we need to plan activities and filters on an LC level to ensure that every TN we raise has a challenging JD which ensures this development and has a clear individual responsibility. But also, for example, that we adjust our processes towards leadership development, which can simply mean if you are doing marketing, what is your messaging, right? So what kind of message are you giving to your customers? Of course, that you need to be relevant to the market to sell some product, but in the end of the day, that the person who's buying the product understands it's a leadership development experience. And what kind of questions are you asking, for example, in your selection process, etc. So how can we ensure that our processes are being adjusted based on the fact that we're trying to develop leadership? And also another one is involving TN takers and to ensure there's leadership development. It's a very simple thing, you know? Like, what kind of conversations do we have with TN takers? Either when we're selling, but also when they're like, yes, we want to raise an internship. How are we preparing these companies to understand what ISEC is actually trying to do and what role they can play in guiding this intern through this internship experience to actually develop themselves? And then we also have inner journey elements, which is, for example, ensure that every EP has personal goal setting and also creates a plan around this and tracks actually what this person is learning throughout their journey. And ensuring that every EP actually realizes the relevance of their experience for themselves, but also for the world, and for this bigger purpose, which should be present in this internship, right? And thirdly, also that we ensure that we give EPs inputs on how to use this experience and what they've learned out of this experience for their future. So what role can they play in society to contribute based on the things they learned, the leadership competency, skills, and traits they learned in this development experience with ISEC. So these are very, very concrete things which we and you guys can start working on like tomorrow, right? And you should replan, or you should put this into your plan, because if it's not in your plan, it's not going to happen, right? So that's also why this translates directly into the replanning framework and how we're actually inserting that and then putting the responsible person for it and actually making sure that it's happening. And what I wanted to add to this, right, is of course we know EP Lead already, but the fact is not only let's just run an EP Lead program. We need to realize that the inner journey specifically is translated into this EP Lead program, which should have these specific elements. And then also understand what the role can be for a GIP and GCDP experience, right? So how are we using this for replanning? This means that you can already start planning these activities for your internships. It's either general for GIP, GCDP, or it's specific. And also you can take more of these elements in the upcoming sessions for the strategic inputs, which we'll have tonight and tomorrow, right? So just to refer back to big ISEC and our ambition and what we're trying to do as an organization, and then we're scaling that down to these concrete activities. It's a journey we've been trying to make as an organization. And I really get super excited when I'm talking about it, because I think it's so great that we finally can act, and we finally can say, yes, we're trying to improve the way we're developing leadership. Because everyone in this room is knowing that we're not developing that currently in every experience, right? But the fact that there's now concrete activities and actions we can take to ensure that we can start doing that gives a lot of hope and gives us a lot of responsibility and opportunities to start working on that in all of your entities right now. And yeah, I mean, in the end, this is the framework we're talking about, right? So this is exactly what you're going to be able to fill out and going to take back home in discussions with your MC, which you're going to have, to ensure that everyone in your entity thinks about which elements you need to improve in the experiences you are going to provide, either if it's related to the inner journey or if it's related to the outer journey. Yeah, and in the end of the day, this is the leadership we want to provide in our GIP and GCDP programs, to make our our internship experiences as impactful as we see it can be, and sometimes is. And then, in the end of the day, we go back to this beautiful picture where we see that the world is getting better because of the internship experiences and the leadership development experiences Isaac is providing. So, thank you very much for listening to this story around GIP and GCDP, and we hope you got some new insights out of this. And we think this is the best start we can make for more insights on the GIP GCDP program. So we can have some good conversations over dinner to start with that, I think. Thank you very much.